Now, I'm doing my garden presentory bit. Now, this is really interesting. I can't do that, come on, shall we get rid of that bit? It's fucking embarrassing. The Royal Horticultural Society have said we are in crisis. The industry is lacking youngsters coming through. This is Eggleston Hall Gardens, and over the next 12 months we're going to take you on a journey of what it's like to run a nursery garden. It's week 22. This is a lily. It's a bit weak growing this year. It usually grows about twice that height. I think it's the lack of water. I'm not quite sure what species it is. The seed was given to me from an expedition, and I can't remember, some years ago. And I must really remember to take some seed off of it this year, if it produces any. Otherwise we're going to lose it. This little plant here is the Welsh poppy. Oh God, the postman's arrived. The Welsh poppy, Meconopsis cambrica. And a lot of people treat it as a weed, but in actual fact, I quite like it. Very easy to grow, seeds itself around. This here is a Sucidiphyllum, and it's one of my favourites. It's called Red Fox, R-E-D-F-U-C-H-S. I think it just means red fox. It has to be grafted, but it's a lovely thing. This one's taken some damage in the winds, and suffered from lack of light a bit. But it is a very, very nice thing, and it does have that quite nice scent as well. You can see the Actinidia columicta is coming on leaps and bounds. It's absolutely lovely, isn't it? The noise in the background is various phone calls that seem to be coming in every minute, and customers' trolleys. We're not even open yet. I think that's a good thing. Now this is something that irritates me again. This is some seed from DT Brown, and this was sweet corn. And you can see it's all been treated the same way. One seed per pot. But this one, out of 38 seeds, there's about 10 missing. So I would say that's about a 75% viability rate. This is another variety, and probably about the same, about 75% viability rate. This one's quite good. This is a variety called Wagtail. Probably about 80% viability, but over here, this variety, well, it's a disgrace. It's called Bountiful. I would say it's about 15 to 20% viability. I have this terrible feeling that they're mixing old seed with new seed again. Whatever, when you pay a lot of money for a packet of seeds, you don't want that sort of viability. And it's all been grown exactly the same. Some of these plants are perfectly all right, but others, they just haven't come in. they were just non-viable.
Go on then, what you want me for?
I need to film you what you've done in these maples. They're looking really nice, especially with the eucalyptus down the side.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, well, I've just been moving them from the other polytunnel because that one's just, it's much sunnier and hotter in there, so we're bringing them in this one just so there's a bit more shade and it's just a bit cooler for them. And they all needed spacing out as well, so I've just given them plenty of breathing space around them, just so you can actually see the shape of the plant, how it looks. And it makes them a hell of a lot easier for watering.
Yeah. I don't like that one there. That little bastard there.
The little princess.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It just looks like a little green bush to me.
I love that one, that okagami with a big red leaf.
Okagami.
Mm.
It is a big leaf, isn't it?
It's a big leaf.
Yeah. And that's nice. I think it used to be called crispum. I don't know what it is.
Okashimo.
Okashimo. That's nice. It has that, like, what do they call it? Cristate leaf, is it? Something like that. Yeah, it's nice. You've done a good job in here. Especially considering the heat.
Yes.
Bloody aphids on there again. I'll have to give it another spray. It's really frustrating. Lots of eucalypts. Them spiders' webs, they're
Horrible. Bloody awful.
Lisa likes them. You like spiders' webs?
I do.
I don't know why. This is pretty fats here. I don't find anything interesting about fats here at all. Before we go home, look at this. I showed you this before. This is Rosa pimpinellifolia, and this is one called the Dunwich Rose. It's really lovely. It's a spiky bugger, but it forms quite a neat bush. I've actually opened this one out a bit. It can make quite a nice rounded bush, but I just love it. I'm not a rose fan, but it's just so delicate. And it flowers for a long time. Look at all these buds going down the stem. And there's more yet like this. We've been asked for this today maybe a dozen times. I should sell it really, shouldn't I? Yeah, what else? Self-sown aquilegia. We've been out after a rabbit. The score after today was rabbit 1, Malcolm 0, and dogs 0 as well. You've failed, you buggers. You're getting old. How's that? That is Cornus argentea alternifolia. And the leaf has come out properly now from the last time I think I showed you. Really, really lovely. Has a sort of spooky quality to it. They call it the wedding cake tree. As I've said before in a previous video, it's hello, what's he got in there? It's just a beautiful thing, and it naturally creates those tabulations. Less coarse than the controversa variegata. The old brilliantissimum is doing quite well where we've stalled it back. Well, it's neither a pollard nor a stall really. It was actually, I took it down to 4 foot, thinking I'll chop the rest of it off later in the year. I think my blade needed sharpening. I thought I'd do it next time I have the chainsaw out. And that never happened. And now look at it. Quite the little feature. So many things in gardening are done by accident. You know, we find you leave something somewhere and it suddenly thrives. This is Cornus mass, the golden form, Cornus mass aurea. The other tree, the other Cornus, the pagoda tree, although you could call it another wedding cake tree, is just here. Has a coarser foliage. We've been through it, but we need to see it at different stages. There we are. You're going right up now. I've kept it a bit on the skinnier side. These layers, these tabulations would be much wider, but it's been restricted by light in many senses, which is why I've thinned out all of this and chopped back that liriodendron. I thought, chop that bastard back and it'd drop dead and nothing will happen. Look at it, breaking away now. There is a lot of dead wood on it though, so I expect it's shagged. Where are we now? The set of fruit on the festoon is really quite good. Oh, look at this. You can see where it's all setting. It's like a little cage, that. Do you like that I said that? It's like a little cage. Go on. How peculiar. I don't know where that voice came from. Right. Somebody asked me how the big room was doing. That's how it's doing. It has sprung up some more seed heads. A few weeks back we chopped them off. This foliage here is really quite nice. This is Kiringishoma palmata. It's a Japanese plant. It has a yellow sort of weird tubular, curled tubular sort of flowers. It's quite a strange thing when it flowers later in the year. The foliage is really, really nice. And it flowers late and goes on until the frosts. That there is a bit of bindweed. I will have to get that out. The extra light is correct. There's more of it down there. Look at that. Now you've seen before them. Oh, dactyliroids are around here. Yeah, they're just starting to get away. Yeah, that was that orchidy thing I was telling you about, the bee or marsh orchid, Dactylorhiza fuchsiae. There. That's what I mean about the flower spike looking a bit like a liatris. But they are really quite nice. I nearly fell arse over head there. The azaleas are smelling really quite exquisite at the moment. I feel like I'm being very posh tonight. Exquisite and funny voices. What else can we look at? I'll tell you what, we'll just nip down the churchyard. Bottom here, there's the old, they're Spanish bluebells, they're not English bluebells. If I had any love of my country, which I do have actually, or its fauna and flora, I would have them Spanish ones out. But I never put them there. They've been there since 25 years. I don't remember putting them there. Come on, dogs. There's two. Where's the third one? Come on, Finn. Come on. Stop fucking about. Go on, in there. Go on, wait on there. What's going on down here? Very nice there. Now, there's a couple of things here we can look at as well. The brewer's weeping spruce, Picea breweriana. It's just starting to put on some extension growth. You see that? It's lovely, isn't it? I should sound like Thomas. Yes, that's growing away nicely. Yep, that's growing away nicely. The Katsura. Look at that. What a handsome tree that is. Wait till it gets its scent and its lovely autumn colour. Where the pendulous one, although this is the ordinary Cicidophyllum japonicum, and it still has a lax habit, as you can see, but the pendulous one is proper pendulous. It goes right down, and that's a butter yellow colour in the autumn, whereas this one goes red and yellow as sort of russet tones. That there. Somebody came in to me one day, I don't know if I've said this before, he said to me, there's a tree in your churchyard, since it's been planted, we've been coming here years, we call it Clyde. And Clyde was apparently an orangutan out of a film with Clint Eastwood. And that tree has always reminded them of Clyde. So whenever they come in, they say, oh, we're just off down to see Clyde. I thought orangutans were sort of orange. Oh, there's a dead crow there. It might be a jackdaw. I never shot it, I don't shoot them. Don't worry. I always think they do quite a good job in clearing up all the crap, but I know farmers don't like them because of the damage they do to young sheep. But yeah, no, I still can't get Clyde. This lovely evening light down in this churchyard. You know, I've been coming into this churchyard here, right? I've been coming in here for 20 odd years, and I come down here sometimes. When my old partner was alive, Gordon, oh, what have I said? He's not dead. When he was here before he was retired, I am sorry, Gordon, if you ever watch these. It's really embarrassing, isn't it? Before my old partner died, I used to look after the cottage and stay here because he used to go to Italy a lot. He had a little place out there, and I used to come down here at 12 midnight, 1 o'clock, even in the middle of winter, in the hope of seeing something like a ghost or a ghoulie or something. Nothing. Like, it's 400 years old. You would think there would be a few ghoulies around here, wouldn't you? Nothing. I sat in here for a couple of hours one night. It was a really misty night, and I sat in here on the old tree stump, and the maple there that's in the tree stump, that was just been planted. And I sat on that tree stump for about 2 hours, freezing my bollocks off. And frankly, I never saw nothing. I don't know if you've ever been in here. It needs a good sweep up in here. When I first came here, Gordon was just on developing this old church. Well, developing it was a ruin. The churchyard was just woodland, and it was dense woodland, and being a dowser, he found all the gravestones that were laying and pulled them all up the right way. Well, I didn't just pull them, I mean, he's not that strong, but got them all up the right way. He developed the top, made it safe so people could come in here. Under these black tarpaulins are all the old plaques that were on the wall. This here, where this font, the bell is in the shop. I'll try and remember to show you the bell. We found the bell. It was under about, because this was 3 foot deep in detritus, you know, rubbish and stuff. And here is this is where they used to do all whatever vicars do and stuff. And it's where he used to do all his woo stuff, and forgive me for my manifold sins and, you know, that. And there used to be a tunnel that come up from the hall to here. You came up, and that's so the knobs didn't get wet or wet feet. And they used to sit in this section here, which had a nice fire. As you can see, there's the old hearth. I assume that's the base of it or something. But anyway, that's where they used to be. And out through this door here was where all the peasants and the workers used to have to congregate. Of course, it would have had a lid on then, a roof. We know that that old rose up at the top of it, growing over there, we know that that was there in 1864, because there is a black and white photograph, one of the first ones I assume, of it. And up on there, I alluded to this once. See, I said the word alluded. You know, I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. That is a sundial. And that would have always been there. It's covered by rose. I have to expose it. I'm all over the place for this. So there you are. Here's the old churchyard, and I'm not a religious person, so I'm fascinated by superstitions and things. They do fascinate me, but I wouldn't say I was religious at all. I suppose plants and gardens have always been my sort of church thing. A lot of these families are still in the Dale. Another interesting fact that we got from some bishop or something from Durham was that there's 2 ages of mortality here. Sometimes people you'll find that there's a lot of gravestones where they died in childhood. You know, childhood illnesses and things, so they didn't have antibiotics and stuff. So there's a heavy sort of mortality around 6-7 years old. There's several children's graves in there. The other next one is there's a heavy mortality around 19, 20, 21. And this is because, as it was explained to me, the youngsters were growing up and they were becoming adults. You know what youngsters are like. These days they're shagging all over the place, but in them days, you know, it was kissing and courting and sort of like old-fashioned stuff. They're quite refined about it. There was no hookups or whatever they called it. You know? There was no Tinder. Tinder was what you lit your fire with. Anyway, where'd I get to? Yeah, there was a whole load of mortality around that age. About 19, because they started snogging, you see, kissing, and so tuberculosis, that sort of thing. So there was a lot of deaths around then, as they changed into adulthood. And then they're okay till about 40, and then there's a whole load of deaths around 40, and that's because the prime industry around here at that particular time in these hills was lead mining. And everything was done with lead, drinking vessels, pipes, you know, and they were mining it all day. If you go over to the Killop mines over in Weardale, fantastic. You can go down and see how they used to be. You can actually go down the actual shafts. It's very good. Anyway, where I get to, yeah, they was all dying around 40 because it was occupational. There was no health and safety occupational things. And, you know, I am one of those that will say, bloody sir, health and safety. Well, maybe today it's got a bit extreme. We don't want to live with any risk, but in them days, just getting up was a bloody risk. These poor buggers had to pay for their own explosives, their own. And they were down there making holes in the rock, banging in powder. And, oh, God. Yeah, I was just explaining that. So there's... A lot of them died around 40. But if they got past 40, the old buggers used to go on to quite late, 80s and 90s. But there was a lot tripped up on the way. But anyway, good night, my friends. You've been here a long time.
Laura and I decided to come up early this morning before it gets too hot in these tunnels. Oh boy, it does get hot. Midday, certainly. It's unbearable. So we've come up early to get an order ready. An order of all these little pot liner maples. They're just putting on their second flush of growth again. They're quite sweet like that. That one's too big, by the way. This is all Sophie's hard work. Matthew's sister. She does all our potting. She's our chief potter, and she's quite pleased when these little ones go off out the gate because she knows her hard work has paid off. She pots thousands and thousands. She's been potting here since she was 16. She's Matthew's sister, younger sister, and she gets every one in the centre. Incredible. It's amazing. I couldn't stand there all day doing it. I don't know how she does. But there, she doesn't seem to mind, bless her. So hopefully she'll be back soon. She has been furloughed in our eyes, but in the government's eyes, we're still waiting for them to send us a code that actually works. We've had 4 codes through now, and 4 times we've tried to put the code in and the government site won't accept it. So we're going to persevere. Hopefully she'll get her money soon. But there you go. Doesn't always work for everybody. But we'll plod on, persevere, and hopefully she'll be back soon and do a load more potting for us. So that's the sort of thing going out at the moment. All nice little plants. The green ones behind, these are the ones we're hoping to fatten up so that I can graft in a couple of weeks' time, or at least start grafting in a couple of weeks' time. But they have to have the right, probably could do that, it's a bit thin, but some of the varieties that are grafted onto the Acer palmatums are a bit thin, but ideally that needs to be a little bit thicker than that. Oh yeah, then I can see it. There, gosh, so many to graft. I think I did 13,000 last year. Better get on. Oh, I'm just going to check on my bees. They seem very busy. I think it's just that they're hot. I don't think they're going to swarm. I think it's just because the sun's on them. I need to check to see how full the supers are and put another one on if necessary to maybe stop them swarming. It's important we have the bees here because they pollinate all of our Japanese maples. We've got so many different ones planted in the stock beds that we need them so that we've got seed for future use next year. We're so lucky here. Just around us, within a 3 or 4 mile radius, we've got 7 nurseries, garden centres, and they usually have great stocks of plants, so all my bees go over and visit them over there. But it'd be interesting to see if the honey is as tasty this year when nurseries haven't had so many plants delivered. We shall see. Just checking my bees. Aren't they gorgeous? They've been collecting and pollinating everything around here. Somewhere in amongst that there'll be some Japanese maple pollen and nectar. So they're very important to have here because we have so many Japanese maples, all different varieties, and we really need them to be pollinated. So then we can collect the seed in September. There's a little angry bee there somewhere. But yeah, all this looks capped. So I'm just going to put another super on. open this super up and they're just capping off this honeycomb. See the honey, I think if the light's right, but you can see the honey glistening in there. They've been very busy. And I don't think that one's quite ready for another super yet, because there's still quite a few frames that need to be filled and capped off. I'll leave it at that. Very busy. Busy bees. Oh, that's enough of that. It's too hot in this bee suit on a nice day like today. And they were in full sun, so I sometimes wait until the shade is on them, but this was the only chance I had to do them today, so hey ho, never mind. I'm going to have a cool drink now. You can see one of our tunnels is pretty empty looking. We've had a very good week, which is brilliant for us. Yeah, hopefully we'll catch up on what 7-8 weeks of being closed down at our busiest time. So we're just going to have to replenish the stock and bring stuff in as and when. We usually filter it in as and when it's ready to sell, but because we're behind with all the potting, you know, we are limited to ones that we can bring in at the moment because they really need to be repotted. But yeah, the main tunnels looking quite sparse at the moment. People say to us, well, I bet you get big lorries in here with big deliveries, and what we try to explain to them is everything is grown on site. The seed is picked, the seeds are sown, they're grown on, they're grafted. Some of the seedlings are picked out because they are quite pretty and nice in their own right, so we grow them on, some of the purple ones. But people just think you buy them in, but we've been growing maples for 35 years now, and we've obviously got a good cycle going. But some of our stock, well, the odd one have been here sort of 20-30 years, but we try and sell them at the most in a 20-litre pot because people can't take them away. But yeah, no, they're all grown on site, years of love and attention, and yeah. Oh, I've just come into video and oh my goodness, just come into video and oh my goodness, there's a little baby wren. Oh, bless its heart. That is so tiny, and the mum's coming to feed it. The mum is there somewhere. She was alarming just now, but I won't get too close. That's just an idea I had with the acers. A purple and a green one in the same pot, but you have to do that very early on, sort of beginning of March. Oh, there's the mummy one. Oh, bless her. Yeah, but they do. You have to pick acers that grow at the same rate, otherwise one will take over. Even there, the viridis is sort of growing quicker than the Crimson Queen. So, oh, there's mummy. There, I must go and leave them. Leave them in peace. Aww. Bye-bye.
It's amazing to think, isn't it, that these boys have travelled from Africa. And what's even more amazing is the fact that have chosen us to nest again. They're reusing an old nest. Normally they actually make one in a very, very awkward place, but they're just refurbishing it, I think. It's wonderful. Well, it's nice to be having the first cooking. We got some shepherd's pie my mother-in-law made. I have a wonderful mother-in-law. She makes us dinners and things, and she does flower arrangements, and it's all pretty good stuff. Anyway, so what I'm doing with the kale is I'm just going to strip off these older leaves, the more mature leaves around the outside. I'm going to leave one or two on. There we are. That'll be all right there. Might have that one off over there. See? What do you three want? I'm going to left in peace. You're hassling on, aren't you? I know you're wanting to go over them fields. You want to go and get some rabbits? Come on then. Let's go. Anyway, I've just got to show people what I'm doing here with this kale. Just getting that up. Getting that up. See? Gonna put that in this bag. There you go. There is a bag of kale. I shall have that for my tea with the old lady shepherd's pie. And those plants there will just come back nicely. Gotta sound like Thomas, but they will. The leaves will get bigger, and then next week we'll have another cooking, and it'll just go on like that. So I need to try these sweet peas in again. But we have had the first small bunch, and I wish I could send you the fragrance. I'm having to put braces and a belt on because I am so excited by these. Oh dear. The other thing that's looking quite good at the moment are the lupins. They're a bit shorter than usual. This is because of the lovely sunshine and the irritating droughts that we're having. But it's a fair old display. We've actually sold out of lupins now. Now that is really annoying when you've got a display like this, but they do look nice. There are some beauties, but they are about half the size they would normally be. We had a seedling in the tunnel, and I've just left it for the last 2 or 3 years. Well, I hadn't. Actually, it was Lisa that's left it. There, look at that. I would have hoed the bugger out, but she's left it, and it's a lovely blue, a slight bicolour, and it's just sown itself in there. There's another one over the other side of the path. I suppose I'll have to leave that as well. You always get exciting things. Not as exciting as them. They are my little passion. This sad bugger. Oh. This is my apron. It's my new apron, or relatively new, and it's got my name on it, so as I don't get lost. I'm just packing up, and I really just wanted to show you. These were the little disc propagates we did of the room earlier a few weeks back, if you remember. It's quite a few weeks back. You can see the smaller discs have, the smaller buds haven't taken on very much, but the others, well, I don't know if we've got much root coming through. Look at that. They're doing really well. And the biggest bud of all, that's done fantastic. Look at that. You can see the colour under there. Another one there. So if you've got a big specimen in your garden, it is actually a relatively easy plant to do. It's just that you want it to be a really big specimen, so that in taking some good discs off, as we did, I can't remember which week it was, you'll have to go back over, but bastard. Right. You'll have to look it up, but those are the sort of plants you can get from room, and they will be, you can see with this leaf here, it really is a lovely crimson form early in the year. This is a bit later because it's a new leaf, but it's the time's getting on. But they're all clones, so they're going to be exactly the same as the big one. And the girls like the big one, so I'm told. What we are doing here, if you remember the old delphiniums that we did earlier in the season, last year's crown buds, and they were in little square 7s, and we moved them up to 1 litres. Well, they're coming back down the potting shed now, and there's several hundred of them. And this is one called Blue Jade. So we're now transferring them up to a 3 litre pot. It's really just a question of potting them on and making them sale worthy, because they've run out of nutrition. You can see they're quite light, pale, not as green as I would like. They're fine, they'll pick up in a few days. We're just going to put a cane in. You can put the cane through the root, it really won't hurt. We'll just put a couple of bits of tape around there. And that's it, that's the next stage up. Now that will make a really nice plant this year. It will probably flower in about 4 to 6 weeks time. And if you look at the ones I've done out here, outside, these are looking, what do you think of them, Finn? You alright? Not impressed. They're looking really good now. They need a week, so we'll just film across them now. But if you look right down the path there, I'm going to put a line of them all the way down here under this laburnum now, and they can sit there for the summer. This is one called Faust, which is probably the most popular. My wife's fiddling with her arse. Now, why is that? Is there a buzzer going off in there? There's always things going off. And that's it really. So we've got a lot to do. I've got a day or so off now, and I'm going to resume with these next week. Looking at the vegetable garden, it's only 6 days since we last looked at it. You can see the lettuce are doing okay. We'll start using these and taking alternate ones out, because and let the other ones grow to mature. But you can see how much growth they've made. It's just, you can't see any soil surface. The beans are starting to twine. The peas are catching up, twining up onto the stock netting. Even the pissy little radishes in the middle are starting to look like something. I've actually planted out the 3 types of sweet corn that we were on about earlier. There's 3 pots of those to see how they go in a block. They should hold each other up. The beans are starting to develop some flower buds I can see coming in there. These are a dwarf bean called the Sutton. You can see the flowers starting there. And again, they should hold each other up. If you think about it in a field, you know, when you have beans in a field, we don't have them in single rows 2 foot apart. They are grown en masse. And the deep bed culture, which is what this is derived from, it was a typically oriental method of growing food using limited spaces, because land was expensive. It was expensive. Nearer you got to the city, the land was expensive. So you had to make maximum use of it. And digging over a garden and walking over 2/3 of it is pretty, well, not a lot of point. We've had a feed of these. We've had this for tea last night, and it was nice. And what we're doing here is just taking off the mature leaves up the stem, making sure we leave 4 or 5 good leaves on top, and then maybe next week they'll be ready again. We'll use them like that. The courgettes are okay. The last sowing of peas, I had a few leftover peas, and to be perfectly honest, they're not doing very well at all. I don't know whether the seed, well, I think the seed was quite old. There's a few more growing now, but it's that's the second sowing is a bit of an embarrassment. I'm not too impressed with that, but we'll look at the failures as well. A couple more things here. The parsnips are just growing. Just starting to, very slow to develop in the early stages. Beetroot, well, they're going like hell, as are the carrots. Then I expected them to. I want to try and experiment. I'm putting in an extra bin pot, and I'm using this for brassicas. I want to try some Brussels sprouts because they're quite high price in the shops. The kale we had last night was probably about £1.50. With brassicas, you need to make a really good hole and get them in quite well down. You'll notice I've been stamping on the ground because they tend to like very harder sort of ground. So I've been stamping the old potting compost down, and I'm going to plant directly into there. And as I say, these are the ones that we stripped out the pots a couple of weeks back. You know, we just strip them out. We're going to plant them well down. Doesn't matter if you bury some of the stem. We get these in, and they're doing fine. And I'll probably apply, I've got a little bit, I haven't put any casing on this old compost. I've just riddled it down a bit. Got rid of any lumps, riddled it down. I didn't use a riddle or a sieve as some people call it. I just used my hands. I'm hurrying this because there's children in the background I can hear, and Lisa's going to have to go and deal with some customers, I think, very soon. So there we are. That's it. I've got the casing here. I'm not using very much. There's a little bit of extra fertiliser in it. And we're just going to spread that around there. And these are Brussels sprouts. Now, growing them this way, I'm probably, if they get large, I'm probably going to put a cane in with each one later on, or they will waggle about. But you can get 4 or 5, 6 pounds of Brussels sprouts off of one plant. You think how much it's fashionable nowadays to buy the whole stem. So breeders have developed one where the sprouts mature all along the stem at the same time. When I was a kid, Brussels sprouts, they matured from the bottom up, and you took the bottom ones off. But these days, they like to harvest the whole thing. And all the trendy people in towns go around saying, yeah, I bought a stem of sprouts last night. But no, we're just grow it the other way. These are a red Brussels sprout. Oh, I don't know what they're like. I've never really had them before, but we'll try them. I expect they're even more expensive in Marks and Spencer's or some other posh shop. I don't know what you have in America. Walmart, Uncle Joe's, no idea. Probably farm shops, because I think you have a lot of them out there. I always see pictures of films of New England, and they have these lovely farm shops selling pumpkins and things. They look fascinating. That's it, update on the veg garden. The old bus stop. It's we're trying to train this laburnum over the top, and it's just starting to develop. This post is going to look quite nice. The idea is to get it over the top, and then we can take the horrible posts away perhaps. But it's doing all right. There's a little horse chestnut there. Now I've forgotten the name of that. I'll have to try and find out. It's a buckeye, and it's quite nice. It's a little short, dwarfy growing thing. The cedar Roman candle is looking pretty spectacular at the moment, but the Wisteria has come into his own. Isn't that lovely? I'm quite proud of that. It's been a labour of love, really. They are not the easiest things to train as standards, but it takes quite a long time. And I think I mentioned before, I did about 50 of them. I've sold all the others, and these were the two. There's one over there that nobody wanted. It's a beautiful bicolour. Very scented, it's strange. A typical sort of pea scent. Leguminous pea, not piddle. The one that I forgot to prune, which is a different type of wisteria, well, that's a bit of a mess at the moment. I'll hit him back maybe in a few weeks' time. I'm gonna have a little go at him. He needs a good seeing to, that one. Different flower again, but he's all over the place. Just never got enough time this winter. I was going to do it this spring, but then lockdown happened. This is an interesting peony. Did I say peony? It's a poppy. I think it's Mrs. Marrow's plum. It's yeah, it's going over a bit, and it's suffering because of its of the drought that we're having. Everything is really. That dog's got an itchy back. How you doing, Finn? You all right? Come here, I'll give you a scratch. Here, let me give you a scratch. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's got itchy back. There you go. Cotinus, just the ordinary Cogeria, that just smoke bush. We'll come back and look at this if it has flower on it. And a great thing for under trees. Looks like a dock leaf. And It has some rather unfortunate modern names that it's been given. These things are like, well, I'm not going to get into it. Yeah. But it's great. It grows under trees. It grows in really dry ground, crappy old soil, spreads around. You can spray it off, or you can dig it out. It's nice. It's called Polygonatum superba bistorta, or bistorta superba. And yeah, when I was a kid, you were always looking for a dock leaf. We used to go for miles in the woods and things, over the downs, and if you were taken short, a dock leaf was a very good substitute. A bit like that old paper they used to use in schools. I never understood what the idea was of it. They used to have this toilet paper, and it was like fucking it was like tracing paper. In fact, I used to use it occasionally as tracing paper, because you were given one sheet of tracing paper, and if you lost it, you couldn't tell anybody because you'd have got caned. Anyway, I used to nip down to the toilet and get a couple of sheets of it. Isal, that was it, Isal. It wasn't really made for wiping, it was really, or cleaning, it was made for a sort of spreading, really. How do we get onto that subject? Yeah, most of the viewers of these sites will be too young to remember Isal. Yeah. Is it like a cross between tracing paper and baking paper? And you couldn't, you know, everybody knew what you were doing when you're in the cubicle, because, you know, nobody likes to hear their noises and things, but like that stuff used to rustle. It's kind of today's stuff, you know, you can get away with it. He's not really in there, he's just reading the Times. No, he's not, he's having a crap and wiping his ass. Anyway, let's get on to a different subject. I can't think of one now, I've lost my thread. Oh God, yeah, I know what it was. This tree, grown this one from seed. This is Pinus Walliciana, and it's really lovely. Look at that. It's a long-needled pine. I love this tree. It's one of those tactile things. You just got to have a feel of it. I think this sequence is going in all directions. I'm very sorry. I think we'll kind of bring it short now. Is that filming? Yeah, good. Yeah, there's a whole industry built up now. We get emails every day with all this coronavirus thing. Talk about opportunistic. These are the normal face masks, which we're supposed to wear if we come in contact with people, or we're helping them get plants in their car or anything close. And it's not bad, is it? I mean, it makes you look a bit like sort of one of those handsome doctors that's... Anyway, that's that one. But Amanda, our photographer here, is doing tea towels with views of the garden and things like little rollers, and there's one of the dogs there, and there's the old church and things. And she's a real lefty. And like, how capitalistic is that? To take advantage. And, I feel like he's some sort of genital truss. I mean, look at it. I mean, it's a sort of sanitary device. Don't call me that. That's a rude word. I can't get over it. Worse still is we had some samples. You're gonna love this bastard. It's like one of them bloody plague masks. This was a free fucking sample. Why would you wear this? This is awful. It's like having your head stuck up a gusset. Oh God. Can you imagine going around wearing that fucker all day? Come on, dogs.